These are questions. There's a couple, like two questions in here from me. The rest are from the residents. Uh, so we'll just get right into it. The first one is: Can the city of Crandall, or do they already have a plan to handle whatever new growth it is in regards to just public safety in general?
Yeah, so as of right now, as far as ESD and fire is concerned, I can say the city does not have a plan. And
Okay.
I know that's been conversation about why should we go with the ESD? Why should we not go with the ESD? I know I only speak for myself, but it's been very publicized that some individuals are very adamant against for a no. But I can understand, and me being on the council for 4 months has never been brought up. So
Yes,
not been
ma'am.
brought up as far as, fire service is concerned, which I think is really concerning on my end. But no. So clear answer, no.
Yeah.
For fire. For police, I know part of the discussion regarding the land that is supposed to be deeded to the ESD, and I know that's in like the works between the legal, like something's going on the legal side.
Right.
But the hope was that police could be stationed out at that station. And so if there are subsequent stations that are being built, whether that's in Wildcat, whether that's in Heartland, the hope would be to have police out there. So response times from police could be shorter. But they're constantly patrolling, so I'm assuming that they're probably stationed in different locations throughout the entire day. But as far as expansion, that's the only thing that has been brought up since I've come to term.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I know for me, in regards to that question, it's more of even with just the Crandall proper itself. If y'all had any idea of where y'all would like to see the department go, or what it would take to actually get one of those done, I don't know. Obviously, I'm just a firefighter, so I don't know the inner workings of city government. So I don't know what it takes to write one of those plans up. I know how Mesquite handles their things, but again, Mesquite's a much bigger city than Crandall is. So
right, and I think it's important for me to always preface with my experience and like my background and how I'm still learning through this entire process as well. So my background is not in policy work or anything. I used to work in the federal government for some time, but as we all know, federal government is very different from city politics. Right. So I worked under a congresswoman in DC for about a year, then moved down here because of COVID, and I'm actually an education consultant. So education is my thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And so I've been in Crandall for 5 years, but 4 months has been what I've been on council.
Okay.
And so, as you already know, the council members have been there for, it feels like forever.
Yeah.
And so I'm still trying to work on trying to understand what has been done in the past and what I have control of right now to really support the community. But as far as expansion for what that would look like for the volunteer fire department, the Crandall volunteer fire, and just all EMS and fire all together, it's really difficult for me to say how much that would cost. I know what the plan would look like is we have no clue because we haven't really had conversations regarding it. I know it's expensive, and I know numbers have been thrown out on social media. And honestly, from the fire service side, for my husband, yes, I know it's expensive, and I know the city does not have the funds currently to build it.
Right.
And that's just transparency altogether. We don't have it. We would need the money from somewhere. And I think it's been very clear that taxes is probably going to be where the funds are pulled from. And now, let me just also say there are also some grants that support, right? There's a grant, and there's all these other grants that we could apply for to fund. But it's going to take some time. And also with, for example, the SAFER grant, we would have to guarantee those funds within 5 years to continue those positions. So we would be okay for 5 years, and then, or 3 years, 5 years, whatever the range is. And then we would have to overhaul those kind of costs, which would go on to the residents.
Yeah. Mesquite, it was a couple years ago, but we did the SAFER grant as well. And we were in the same boat where it was like, hey, this is great for the time being. And then we're going to have to figure it out after that.
Figure it out. Exactly. Yeah. And so then it would be irresponsible, I think, in my opinion, to jump into something that we know we cannot support right now.
Right.
And so we don't have a plan. And so I can fully understand why people are not trusting of the city right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I understand you guys can only do what you can do, and obviously it precedes your time by a long shot. It precedes my time of being out here, but when all this was annexed, it's one of those deals where it's like, why weren't we planning for this 15,
Correct.
20 years ago kind of thing?
And my wondering was always, so were we expecting the ESD to take care of us forever? Was that the goal? So were we ever going to think about having a Crandall Fire Department that was not volunteer? It just never was. Maybe it was brought up at some point in some prior comp plan that I am not privy to, but I know for this one it was not brought up.
Right. And like to speak to that, as far as you're talking about relying on the ESD, for us out here, we don't necessarily care one way or the other. We would, I know there's a contingent of residents that if we could just essentially, I'll put it bluntly, have some representation on the council, or even just council members that didn't outwardly not like us, I guess is the correct way of putting that. I think that would make us feel a lot better. We don't want this to be a ETJ versus Crandall thing.
Absolutely.
Everybody out here loves living out here. But we also don't want to be the redheaded stepchild of things either. So,
I completely understand, and which I have been trying to. I mean, for the longest before I ran and I say I ran, but I really was just kind of walked on. No one ran against me.
Hey, however you can get it. It doesn't matter.
Hey,
yeah.
That's okay. However, I always thought the ETJ was a part of Crandall. And so that was me thinking that we were all one community already. Right. And even after I found out that information and I was on the actual council, I met with a couple of residents from Heartland and from Wildcat, because I think the biggest thing, and my goal is, how can we bring these different communities together? Although y'all are in the ETJ and we're in Crandall, we're still one.
Right.
As people have mentioned, we still have students that go to Crandall ISD. We all drive the same roads, fight the same traffic.
Right.
We get calls and have response from our law enforcement and our fire department. So we all are one, although our money goes in different ways and are spread out across different things.
Right.
It is important to find ways that we can all still be one community, which is what I've been trying to see, how we can bring involvement from Wildcat into Crandall into Wildcat, into Heartland, into
right.
all the different communities, because I think that is really key. We all want different things, but at the same time, we all have the shared goal of making sure that our communities are safe for everyone.
Absolutely.
And that everyone is welcome.
Absolutely.
So the more we can work together and not alienate
right.
TJ versus the city, I think is going to be in everyone's benefit.
Absolutely. Okay, so our next question, I think you kind of touched on it because it kind of rolls into the having a plan thing. What would it take for Crandall to give us what the ESD is promising? I think we kind of touched on that, as far as we know it's expensive. It's just...
It could happen. It could happen. Not next year.
Right.
Not the year after. And so I think that's where residents and citizens and ETJ, everyone needs to just be aware that there are pros and cons to both sides. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, if we need services immediately, the city cannot fulfill those services as of right now.
Right. And that's kind of where I try to bridge the gap with making people understand on both sides that, hey, a fire engine it's 2 to 3 years for you to get that from the time you order it. A station takes, a better part of a couple years to build. Yeah. So none of this is like we're going to get it next month kind of thing, whether it's ESD or the city of Crandall.
Correct. On both sides, I think there is this idea that I saw in the contract, they have, I believe it's 90 days to pull out.
Right.
But in 90 days, realistically, we can't get a station, we can't get this new material. It's a lot. So I caution what President Ashley has mentioned from the ESD is that it will likely take between 2 to 3 years for the ESD to completely pull out if Crandall votes no on it. But that is straight from her. However, then we would immediately, as a city, have 2 to 3 years to figure something out.
Right.
And that's estimated time, because they could get somewhere in a year.
Right.
Half a year.
It'd be very hard, but and I think ethically that's that's kind of a crappy thing to do anyway. If they were going to say, well, we're just going to take our toys and run and
Absolutely.
leave City of Crandall high and dry with essentially nothing, I think that's kind of crappy
And
to
I
do.
think it's also important to recognize that a lot of the guys at the station also have families in Crandall. And so ethically for them and morally, like, it just would not make sense.
Yeah.
They would essentially be going against their own family. And so I think it's important to recognize that this is a very difficult situation right now. And it is it gets messy when, you know, we're playing with people's lives, which at the end of the day is not the goal here, right? The goal is to ensure safety for everyone.
Right. And that's all we want is just better. I know for me personally, this started out just as like, I know where your husband's at, because Mesquite was kind of that way up until about 3 or 4 years ago, where you're coming into work, you know, you don't necessarily have the resource to do your job, but you're going to do it anyway, because it's what we do. So
yeah. And I try to stay impartial. I see both sides. I understand that as I represent the residents of Crandall proper. I understand a tax is burdensome, but I also understand that from the fire perspective, they're very, very torn between the two, and they have lack of direction, and that's specifically from what the guys have told me. But I have sat at the station, and I've seen them call after call, back to back, right, with no additional support, equipment, personnel, and it is very difficult, and especially because these guys sometimes work 2 departments, and I mean, my partner works at 2 departments too, and I can't even imagine if he was constantly on calls in Crandall and then has constantly calls in his other department, how stressful that could be.
Yeah, my hat's off to him. I don't know how he does it. That is a beating. So, next question. As far as, let's go back to the taxes thing, because this is something that I wanted to ask. Obviously, there is some sort of tax increase for the citizens of Crandall, correct?
Yes.
So, like, my understanding right now is, like, myself out here in Heartland, I pay an ESD tax, and the citizens of Crandall pay a city tax, of which that just goes in the general fund, correct?
Yes.
So, if, let's say this measure passes, does that city tax for the residents, does that go away and change to an ESD tax? Do you know what part of that city tax is, like, just fire compared to what the ESD tax would be?
Yeah, so I don't have a percentage of the total budget of what we specifically allocate for the fire. What I am aware of is that, so right now the ESD tax is 0.088 is what they're presenting, and that would be a flat out tax across the ESD and the city of Crandall if this passes. Currently, city of Crandall residents pay one lump sum of tax to the city, and the city then puts it in general fund, and from the general fund we take $602 and give it to ESD. I'm sorry, not ESD, the Crandall Volunteer Fire Department, and then ESD does the same, and Crandall Volunteer Fire Chief then disperses it in the budget. As far as will that tax go down, the likelihood of it going down is very low. And the reason I say that is because, so right now we approved a tax increase because we were at a deficit. We only had $100,000 extra to do anything with the city. Not really great, right?
Yeah, that doesn't get you a whole lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, and from the visuals that I was presented by the city and that were presented in city council meetings, there was specific, I love the visual, and I wish I could find it and have it, but it had, like, if we tax this amount of percentage, if this was the tax rate, we would be in this red area, but if we continued, we would have a little bit of extra that we could actually utilize. Now, one thing I have been very firm on is we need additional growth for green spaces. We need to acquire land, and land is leaving really, really quickly within the city.
Out here,
Yes, it's leaving pretty quickly. And I'm in Crandall, there's nothing for our families, our children, our elderly to participate in. As far as rec centers, trails, walks, anything for our resident. And so I'm a big proponent for this could be a location where we could actually have shared spaces between the different communities and Crandall residents to kind of mix and mingle, have events, do things like that, because we currently don't have a space. Now, for that to happen, though, we need the extra funds for it. Now, those 602 that would be allocated towards the volunteer fire department would then be returned to us in addition to the extra that we increased. We could reallocate those towards Parks Recs, and additionally I know people have been complaining about streets and sewage and drainage systems and things like that, and those could be expanded. But I think there's also an idea to expand downtown Crandall as a whole to offer more services, restaurants, opportunities, commercial locations where people can come.
Right.
So I know we've been, those are in the works, but those unfortunately require some money. Now I can't say in the long run we won't lower the tax, because I think we wouldn't need that money as much, because now we have extra pocket change that we have from the tax, but we also have extra from the 602 merged together. If the budgeting works out, we could reallocate that money back to the residents by lowering tax.
Gotcha.
It could potentially happen. I can't say that it won't, or that it will, because it requires everyone on council to be on board.
Gotcha. Yeah, that, like I said, that was one of those things. I don't claim to know anything about city government, so it was a little confusing for myself when it was like, okay, so if this passes, are the residents no longer paying that portion of what is going to the fire department, or does
they will continue to pay it in addition to a tax? So yes, I hear a lot of we're being double taxed. What does that mean? What do they mean by that? It would be my question, because we are no longer still providing 602 plus the ESD tax.
It's going to Crandall at this point.
Correct. It would go, that 602 would go directed towards Crandall, and the .088 would go towards the ESD for fire and EMS services.
Gotcha.
So no, I wouldn't say it's a double tax, but I can understand that extra tax on top of a tax is burdensome.
Right.
But two taxes are not going towards the same location.
Yeah, that was my question. I was confused on that myself. Let's see. We had gotten told that there was more staffing, or y'all had hired some more people in the Crandall Fire Department. Do you happen to know if there's plans? I know there's 2 fire engines down there. Is there going to be the ability to staff both of those at the same time? Because I know, currently it's just one engine that runs, right? And then if they need the second one, they pull somebody off that one and put it on that one?
To be honest, I can't answer any logistics about what happens within the fire department, just because that would be a question for the chiefs. And so they probably would be more privy to answering that question. I can't.
That's okay.
What I've seen, I usually see I know that there's 5 guys on staff is what they said. And those 5 are allocated towards different things, like whether that's the engine, whether that's the brush truck, but I can't really speak on logistics within the fire department.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No big deal. Let's see, where were we at? This one, this is not a gotcha thing. Again, I'm asking it because somebody asked it.
Yes.
Would you or the council be in favor of annexing Heartland and or pretty much the ETJ, or allowing us to de-annex at this point?
So, to be quite transparent, I don't know what all that takes.
Right.
That's just me from being new, and the question was whether I or the council would be against or oppose this. I can't speak for the council, but I can speak for myself. I am not very aware of what benefits or what pros and cons are with either one of them on both sides.
Right.
So I can't necessarily sit here and say I would be for it or I would be against it, because I just don't know the politics behind that, nor do I know, there's just a lot of logistics that happen behind all that. I don't know what would necessarily benefit or be. And say I know anything about this.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of us get hung up, especially those of us. I've lived out here since 2016, and it's like, okay, when is this happening? As far as annexation, that is, I know de-annexation is probably not a quick neither one's a quick process. You just would figure after. I don't remember when Heartland was first built, 07, 08. You figure after almost 20 years of being out here that would have been done. And I'm not sure why it hasn't been done either, or why it has or has not. I don't know if there's costs associated with it. I don't know if I would assume that the ETJs would have to be in favor of being annexed in as well. I think it's a double thing. So I don't know. I say we had been told it was because of the mud districts, as far as the amount of debt that they have. So it
could be, but I also don't know the debt numbers. I'm not very aware of this.
I guess this kind of rolls into that as far as the question is, do you support expanding the ETJ as far as the amount of homes in the existing ETJ on 148? I guess they're talking on past Wildcat,
Yes.
all the way kind of up to Talty. So it's like, is the council in support of that? Or I would like to ask, is there any way that we could almost get a moratorium on reducing the amount of homes, if that makes sense?
When I got into council, I was under the hope that we were no longer expanding homes.
Yeah.
And that's just because the infrastructure is not necessarily there yet.
Yeah.
We are working with the appropriate people. Specifically for me, it's traffic.
Yeah.
Traffic is miserable, and I drive it every day. I'm sure most of ETJ and city residents do it every single day. It's just, I think we need to handle that first before we continue to build more homes. Now, I do want to preface with some of these things have been approved years ago. And so when they come to council, I can't really push back on more homes being built if they've already been approved.
Right.
So I don't know if something has been approved to spreading all the way to Talty. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
If it has been, if it has already been approved due to prior council, then it will continue to expand.
Correct.
Whether or not I vote no on anything.
Right.
But for any new developers, my goal coming in was to halt the expansion, at least until we can get everything together.
Right.
As far as infrastructure and just things that the city would need to make everything flow. And I know there's been ideas of expanding some county roads. Some of them are Kaufman County. Some of them are within city limits. TxDOT came in or had a presentation that they're saying they want to expand over by Wildcat, that road, and connect it to 741, I believe. So it's just, there's a lot of moving parts right now to try to help mitigate it. But I think until all of that is figured out, we probably need to pause on it.
I agree. The 741 and 175, and then the light, I'm sure you always, it's not even a light, the intersection at 175 in downtown Crandall. Nobody likes sitting in either one of those. So
yeah, and thankfully I live on Old Town Crandall, so it's easier for me to drive around the traffic. But I go to 3030 Drim, for example, and so having to cross over or even to get to any of the food locations on the other side is just a headache.
It'll be nice when the bypass is done, and people can use that.
Once the bypass is completely finalized, I'm hoping it'll help with the traffic, because from my understanding, we were able to move some of those service roads to one-ways, which would then steer traffic in different directions. I still am trying to I'm a visual person, so I need to see what that would look like, and if it really is going to help us. Right. I hope that it does, but I'm pretty cautious with having my expectations really high.
I agree. This is kind of a side question, just because I'm curious myself. When it comes to TxDOT stuff, does the city council have any kind of, can they push any kind of way to get TxDOT to hurry that up? I know that's a state or a city versus a state thing, but you would just think like 741, I don't think it's supposed to start till 2030, something like that. And it's like, hey, we've already maxed this road out. Like, what are we doing, kind of thing?
Yeah, we can definitely put pressure, but TxDOT is going to work at the pace that they want to work.
Right. Yeah, that's what I figured.
And I know these conversations, from my understanding, have been happening for 15 plus years regarding supporting with with both intersections, getting some support on traffic flow. Even with the yield sign, I know council has brought up the yield sign on the service road right by the subway and 3030 Gym. And we wanted to put flashing lights on the yield just so there would be less accidents in that area.
Right.
To us. So,
what?
For the simple things, it is really difficult to get some partnership with TxDOT. But I will say we can put more pressure, and I know our city manager has been doing a great job trying to have those meetings with them to continuously put pressure.
That's good.
But so we can put pressure. I don't know if it may or may not go anywhere.
Yeah. Again, it's not lost on me that those are multi-million-dollar projects, so they're not going to move fast anyway.
Absolutely.
So I think the last question is, what can we do out here in the ETJ to kind of stay informed with the city of Crandall? We know there's the Facebook page for City of Crandall.
Absolutely. That's a really good question. And I think the city council and the city has not done a really good job at being just transparent as far as sharing what is going on in the council meetings. I know I've seen concerns about we can't see the presentations if we can't make it to council meetings. Can we see the presentations that are being posted? And so I think these are all really, really great conversations to have. I know in the town hall, I had a resident that talked to us about possibly putting out those like one-pagers summaries of what happened on council. I know other council members have done it in the past. And so I hope to continue it. After that feedback, I think it is very important. So that is what I'll do. And you can find that on my Facebook page.
Sure.
It's just Councilwoman Kimberly Herrera. But I think the city, I don't know if the conversation has been had, which we're at TML, so I'll speak to our city manager if that's something we can put out constantly. So the only reason I have not been putting out those one-pager summaries is because I want to make sure that I understand all the facts before I push it out. And me being new, when there are developers coming in and they're talking about all this jargon, and it just went right over my head, and I'm trying to understand in advance before I put anything out there.
Yeah.
So I'll have to then have time to turn around and ask questions to our city manager, get more information on the history. So it might not be on my end very immediate. It might be maybe 2 days out from council.
Yeah.
But I hope to continuously put those one like those quick snippets. We have a social media manager that is getting hired on board, a communications person. And from my understanding, she's great. She worked with the previous city before. And so she has a lot of experience working with the city. So hopefully we can get more communication out through her.
Yeah.
So we're working on some things to be a little bit more transparent. I understand the technology infrastructure in City of Crandall is a little behind its time.
Yeah.
And I think we're working on it. I know David, our city manager, is doing his best to try to get whatever programs and systems that we can to communicate with everyone, not necessarily just residents from Crandall, but people in the EPA as well. Like, I think it's important for everyone to know what is happening across the city because it impacts everyone in the community.
Yeah.
So that is my vow, and that is what I'm hoping to continuously put out. And as much, I mean, on my social media page, I try to turn around as much as possible that's happening in the community. Specifically, anything with the fire department, I will always put out there. Anything with police, and then anything with schools, since I am the liaison for CISD. So I'll continuously push out that information. But as far as like what new developments are probably coming up, if there's tax increases, I will try to be more transparent on putting that on social media, and hopefully we can get the city on board to continue to push those out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all the questions I have from our residents. Are you going to happen to be at the meeting this weekend?
Yes,
awesome.
I will be there.
I will be there. I was on shift for the last one, so I will be there. I'd love to shake your hand at some point. So
yes, I will be there again, just to answer whatever questions I can answer from the city. Like I said, I'm new, so I'm trying to answer as much as I can, but I'm also learning a lot at the same time. But I am trying to do my best to be as transparent with individuals. I come in with a brand new perspective, I think, on certain things.
Yeah.
I wasn't here in Crandall for very, very long, so I'm not too privy with what happened prior to, but I've heard a lot. Yeah. I'm hoping to make some changes.
That's awesome. We would love to have more new folks in there. I don't want to say that as in I think we should lose the old perspective either, because I do understand.
Both are rich.
Yeah, both are needed. And I know that's your husband can say that from the fire service as well. So, anyways, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and it was very helpful. I know it's going to put some people's minds at ease. So thank you so much for.
And then if you can share as well, I mean, if people have any more questions, I know people are constantly in my messenger and trying to talk to me and ask me a lot of questions. I would rather have conversations like this. I am okay with answering over messenger. I try not to comment on anything on social media just because I don't have time to read through all the comments first of all. And I also don't know if other council members have commented, and I don't want to have an accidental quorum. So I refrain from posting and having discussion and dialogue over over comments. So if people want to reach me, my email address is Kim Herrera. Let me double check actually.
I have to do that with my work email too. I'm like, what is it?
I have so many different emails for work and for council, so I just want to make sure that I'm giving the right one. Yes, it's kherrera@crandalltexas.com.
Awesome.
Would be my social media or my email address. My social media, I only have Facebook. I do have Instagram, but I don't really post on there very much. I feel like Facebook is the social media location to go to for certain conversations, so they can reach out to me out there. Or I try to go to as many CISD events as possible, fire events. I'll be at the softball game as well, so if people want to catch me there,
for sure.
But I try to be as involved as possible. So I'm very open. People can chat with me. I may or may not have answers, but I'm here to represent essentially the residents of Crandall. So I'm here. If y'all have any questions, let me know.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'll let you get back to TML. That's a pretty big deal as well. So again, thank you so much, Councilwoman. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Please feel free to call me Kim. It's fine. Thank you for taking the time and really, being open to conversation.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, and thank you for all that you do within your community as well.
Thank you for your husband. So we appreciate him coming out here. So anyways, you have a great rest of your day, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, I feel pretty good about her. I'm not necessarily going to go and say that she's on our side, but she is at least open to having dialogues and open to representing us. So if you have any more questions, let me know. Let Melanie, Dave, somebody on our little, I don't know what you would call it, board or whatever, and I'll try to ask. If you can't make it to the meeting this Saturday, I will get the info out to you, but there is an ESD meeting. Sounds like Councilwoman Herrera will be there. Hopefully some other council members will be there too, but let me know what questions you have. All right. We'll talk to y'all later.